Hey guys, how you doing? What if I were to tell you that you could take a $1,500 Sony a67 camera and add I got this lens for about $750 used, a 100 to 400 millimeter Sigma full frame lens. Put these together and you can get over 1200 millimeter of reach. You'd say I was nuts, right? Well, let's do the math, okay? You got 400 millimeters right here, and you multiply that by the 1.53 Sony APS-C crop factor, and you get 612 millimeters. Now, here's the secret. Sony has something called clear image zoom. It's not digital zoom like when they would just crop in even more and just, make the pixels look muddy and like a mess. They actually scientifically are able to do this. They created it, excuse me, for video purposes, but you can also use it for photography. So here's what you do. The only caveat to it is you cannot shoot RAW. All right, some people say that's a deal breaker, but hear me out. You don't have to shoot JPEG. JPEG's only 8-bit. You got 256 shades of red, green, and blue. You multiply it 256 times 256 times 256, you get 1.6 million colors. Okay? With a RAW file, you're going to be shooting 12-bit or 14-bit. But you could also shoot HEIF. HEIF 4.2.2 to be precise gives you 10-bit color. So 10 bits is 1024 times 1024 times 1024, which gives you over 1 billion shades of color. More than enough for what you're going to need. Okay? So you have that 1200 millimeter reach, and you basically only spent about $2,200 for this camera. If you're doing that full frame, you're going to be paying about 4 or 5 times that, and it's probably going to be about 3 or 4 times as heavy as this. This is a pretty heavy lens, to I'll be honest. This is a full frame lens, but I can go with my Sony 375 to 300 millimeter, and then the APS-C crop factor is gonna roughly turn that into 450 millimeter, a little bit more because 1.53 instead of 1.5. And then the clear image zoom will take that to 900 millimeter. And this lens is a little bit more expensive. It's a lighter APS-C lens. This one's about 1,200, but still you're looking at maybe $2,700, all in for that. Plus your card and your whatever else you're using. A little handle. So I want to just show you some images here so you can see for yourself. Now, you're not going to use it all the time. 99% of the time, I'm shooting manual with auto ISO, and I'm shooting RAW. Sometimes I'll shoot RAW plus JPEG, if I'm on my 6000 where I can't shoot HEIF. And then sometimes on the Sony a67, I'll shoot RAW plus HEIF, and I'll use those color profiles so I could shoot black and white on the HEIF and still get my full color RAW file. So check out these images here. This was an Anhinga feeding her babies that I took at Sweetwater Wetlands Park. And if anybody ever been there in Gainesville, there's a path you walk on, and then there's probably like 100 feet of water with full of gators that is between you and all of these trees there, where all the Anhinga are having their nests, and the cattle egrets are raising their calf egrets, as they call their babies. The spoonbills will be there, but it's pretty far away. You can't get that close to them. You can get close to the Anhinga on the boardwalk, but not their babies. So they're up there feeding their babies and in their nests. Now, if I shoot that RAW with my 400 millimeter zoom lens, this is what I'm going to get. And you can see what it is, but you know, it's the image is washed out. It's full of noise. It's grainy. If I crop that down to this size, I'm already down to like 1,035 pixels. So it's basically like Instagram quality. With the clear image zoom though, the file I get is still 25.6 megapixels. You're still looking at a file that is 6,182 by 4,128 pixels, just like the RAW file would be. And it's 10 bits, so you still have a billion colors in there. And look at the difference in the crop. I mean, it's night and day. You're not going to use it all the time. There are some caveats to it as well. I mean, I'll get to those right now. The problems with it, the drawbacks, besides not being able to shoot RAW, are that you're not getting the 12-bit RAW file, and you're losing some advanced autofocus features. You're not going to be able to use tracking autofocus. You're not going to be able to use the eye detection. So you're basically just going to do this when you have a perched bird or a bird in a nest somewhere. You're not going to be doing this with a flying bird. It's going to be an animal, a bird, something far off, a baseball player, whatever you are. It's going to be something far off that's not moving around a lot. So you just got to nab your focus and then get your picture, and then so you also can't use the focus zoom because you're already zoomed in theoretically with this clear image zoom. So those are the only drawbacks I see to it. But if you got like some bird that's far away, even just to use this to see what kind of bird it is, to see, hey, is it worth walking half a mile in that direction to go after this bird where it's something I've already photographed 1,000 times, or is that a new bird I have, a new lister I've never gotten before? Then you get excited and you want to get closer to it. But at least you got your first shot off, or you can just even look at it through the camera to see what bird it is. All right, so I think it's a pretty cool trick. Now the only thing I wish that you could do besides shooting RAW is I think tinfoil hat time here. I think Sony doesn't let you shoot RAW with this because they want to sell their G Master lenses. They want to sell those teleconverters which only work with their G Master lenses. I can't use a Sony teleconverter with the Sigma. Sigma makes their own teleconverters, but you can't use them on these lenses. Nope. They have an agreement with Sony for the E-mount. They're not allowed to make any teleconverters for this. Otherwise, they lose the ability to sell the third-party lenses. So Sony's got to buy the squirrel nuts there, Anyway, thanks for listening. I'm going to try to post some more photography advice on here. And if you have any comments, please put them down, But just so you know, it's not always the case that the rule is you have to shoot RAW. You can shoot JPEG. You want to be able to share it with your friends easily. You could shoot both at the same time, which is great. It's good to pick one or the other if you want to do those speed bursts. But and if your computer can handle it, look into HEIF, because I think that's kind of like the best of both worlds. That's the same kind of file that the iPhone. I'm looking around for my phone. I'm recording with it. You got your iPhone. And it takes decent pictures because it's got 3 cameras. So it's taking like the background, the foreground. You're in a sunset with, somebody's silhouette. And it's able to take all 3 pictures at once and combine them. Your focus stacking, your exposure stacking at the same time in phone. Well, I was going to say in camera, but in phone. And you can make that HEIF file through there too. But this is just a really cool trick that I came across, and not that many people know about it, and a lot of people I've talked to kind of like scoffed at the idea. So that's one of the reasons I wanted to make this video, so you could see for yourself. I mean, the proof is in the pudding. You look at these two pictures and you could see how much I had to crop in on that RAW file to get the same picture that I got with the HEIF without having to crop in like crazy. And the HEIF file, there's so much more detail in the feathers. The colors are more vibrant. It's just, it's almost like, ready to go. You just got to crop down and pop your signature on there. Print it. Done. Boom. So please like, follow, subscribe, comment. Check me out on Instagram. You could follow my journey. Believe it or not, what is this? It's June 17th. 6 months ago, I weighed close to 400 pounds. I'm not kidding. This camera has literally saved my life. We moved down from New York to Gainesville about 5.5 years ago, and this whole time I've been like telling my daughter, let's go look at the alligators, and she didn't want to go. Oh, it's too hot. Oh, you're too embarrassing. I don't want to be seen in public with you, blah blah blah. She finally got through her high school years. Now she's in college, and she's on her winter break and sitting around with nothing to do. I'm like, hey, let's go down to Lachua Trailhead. Let's go check out the gators. So we go there, and I see somebody with that big, huge Canon lens, and I'm like, I gotta get that. I want to get back into photography. I haven't had a new camera in 20 years. My last new camera, it was the Lumix. It had the, you couldn't change the lens. The lens hood blocked, it cast a shadow on the flash of whoever you took a picture of, so it was kind of useless to use the flash. And it was a decent camera. I got some good zoom. I got some great pictures of baseball players. But within a year or two, the phones came out, and the phone had more megapixels within 2 or 3 years. I stopped using it. So anyway, long story short, I see this huge Canon lens, and I look up how much it costs, and it costs literally more than my car. So I'm like, okay, maybe I'm gonna get something a little smaller here. And then I thought, hey, 6.7, So that's why I decided on the Sony 6700. So I just wanted to get pictures of the bison on the prairie, get some pictures of the gators. That's all I was looking for. But started taking pictures of birds and fell in love with the birds. I started walking around my neighborhood and, taking pictures of birds. And I ended up with 8 after a week. And I'm like, wow, maybe I'll get enough to make a calendar, give out to my neighbors. And then within a couple of weeks, I already had 40 birds just from my neighborhood, going to Sweetwater and, a couple other places. And so right now, I'm at 136 birds, and I've lost 70 pounds chasing these little buggers around. So my goal this year is to get 200 different birds and lose 200 pounds. And so I'm calling it the Bird Photography Diet. You can follow my progress on Instagram and check out my photos there. I don't just do birds. I'm not pigeon-toed into doing pigeons. I'm also doing car portraits, people portraits, and whatever interests me. So check out my other videos on YouTube, please. And thank you for watching. And have a blessed and great day. And happy photographing to you all.